Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're making these simple Christmas sliding knot bracelets. This design has Christmas beaded detail in the centre here, secured with a knot on each side. Then we've got two sliding knots that slide along the other cord so that you can adjust the size of your bracelet. You can put any style or colour beads that you like, and you can also put charms on as well. For our bracelet today we're using 1mm red satin nylon cord. For this design we need a length about 60 centimetres long. We're going to use a little Christmas charm on this design. So I've got these beautiful metal Christmas charms and just placing a jump ring onto one of them. So coming in with our pliers and a second pair of pliers, twisting that jump ring apart, placing the charm onto the jump ring and twisting it closed again. Now I'm going to place some beads on and then place the charm in the centre and more beads on the other side of my design. Now your beads do need to have a big enough hole to fit onto your thread. So whichever beads you choose, hopefully they pop on nice and easily. You can also cut the thread on an angle on the end to make it easier to thread. So I've started with a little silver bead. Now I'm going to just place a little design on, and then my charm in the centre, and then the rest of the same design on the other side of the charm. Okay, so once you've made your beautiful little design in the centre, making sure it's even on both sides of the charm, or nice and even whatever design you've made. You can see my beautiful charm hanging in the centre there. Now we're going to secure the beads in the middle of our cord. So placing the ends together, following it back down to the middle and pulling those beads so that they're in the centre. Now on your end bead here, we're going to grab that point on your cord, holding it between my left index finger and thumb. Now taking the end of this cord down the back and around our finger. And again to the left, down the back and around our finger for a second loop. Now gently removing the loops off our finger, bending the end of this cord around and placing it down both loops. Pulling it out the right hand side and gently pulling this knot down nice and tight onto that point next to the bead. Once that knot is pulled down nice and secure and tidy, then you can slide the beads up against it, and we swap the bracelet onto the opposite side. So again holding it in my left hand just on the side of the bead there, and then taking this cord down the back and around our finger to form two full loops around our finger there. Now we gently remove the two loops off our finger, bringing the tail end of our cord around and place it down both loops, pulling it out the right hand side and gently working this knot down tight. This time we want to bring that knot slowly up so it sits right next to the beads. So gently working it and pulling the centre string to tighten that knot. Pulling it nice and tight so that those beads don't have much movement. Now your beaded design should be nice and secure in the middle between the two knots. Now we just need to tie our sliding knots. Now holding those beads and pulling the cords out straight, I like to cut that longer piece off to even up the lengths of my cord. This makes it easier to get your knots nice and even. Now lay your bracelet down on the table with the cords overlapped and this left side cord at the top. Now gently picking it up and holding it in our left hand with this left side cord at the back. Making sure we've got a little bit of length on this top cord. And then bringing it over the front, down and out the back to form our first loop here. Working towards the left, again bring it over the front, down and out the back for our second loop here. Now bending the tail end of our cord around, and placing it down both loops. Pulling it out the right hand side and gently pulling this knot down nice and tight and tidy. So that's your first sliding knot. It should slide along the other cord so you can test it out and make sure it's sliding okay. If you're happy with it, then we swap the bracelet onto the opposite side, again holding it in our left hand with this left side cord at the back. Making sure we've got a little bit of length on this top cord and then taking it over the front, down and out the back to form our first loop here. And again to the left, over the front, down and out the back for our second loop here. Now bending the tail end of our cord around and placing it down both loops. Pulling it out the right hand side, and this time we're gently going to pull it down so it sits nice and even with this cord on the other side. Gently working it down so that both knots sit nice and even. Once it's sitting in the right position, you can pull it nice and tight. Okay, so that's pretty much your finished bracelet. Now we want to just make sure it's okay for size, so extending it out, making sure it sits okay on your wrist. You can always untie and retie these sliding knots if they're not in the right positions. But if you're happy with how it's sitting, then you can cut these tails off just outside the knots and singe them with a lighter so they don't fray. So there's your beautiful Christmas sliding knot bracelet with beaded detail.